Omaha Central High has a tradition of excellence dating back to 1859. Let's continue that excellence here. Welcome back to Chatting See. I'm your host, Mr. Ben Beckman. We are live on location here at a coffee shop, The Mill, over on Leavenworth Street, and I'm joined by Martha Omar. Omar, how you doing today?
Good. How are you?
It's a great day to, we're almost racing towards the end of the year for him to make it.
Yeah.
One day at a time, right?
One day at a time.
So I picked this area. Why this? Because number one, it's a cool coffee shop to be at. But number two, you and I share a little similarity of being in this neighborhood too. What's it like to live in the Jackson Elementary neighborhood? What's it like to be over here?
So it's changed drastically in the last, I moved down here in 2009.
Mm-hmm.
It's changed drastically. So my kids are right over there at school right now. So after this, I'll go pick them up.
It's perfect. I planned it out for your kids to make sure I made this work. That's exactly how it's going to go. Well, let's start with our first question. You've answered this before in our group podcast, but let's do, for you specifically, what makes Central such a special place?
So Central is special for just a wide number of reasons, but one of them is the student population. We just are right in the middle of Omaha, and we pull from all the different neighborhoods, and we have this old 160-year-old tradition, and so it's just this amazing place where you can go and get a quality education no matter who you are, where you're from, and we're always at the forefront of change and the forefront of progress, and so that's Central. That's why it's cool.
Yeah, I love the part where you said we're on the forefront of things, because we're really not afraid to, even though we are a traditional institution, we understand of how we can change moving forward and what that's going to look like. And the administration, as well the district, but the administration at Central and the alumni understand, hey, we are an accepting institution because we are such a diverse institution too. So we have to keep that tradition going to recognize that we've got to keep pushing those things and pushing those ideas too.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's good. That's a great answer on there. Well, you and I, of course, share another similarity, teaching only freshmen. Me teaching U.S. history, you teaching English. Thinking of English, of course, students are required through OPS to take 4 years of English. Okay. So them coming in off of 8th grade year into freshman year, what are some of the goals for some of the freshmen who are starting out and with English 1-2?
Okay, so Central does English and writing in a very particular way. So a goal, I think, is to get them ready for the rest of Central's expectation with writing and the style book and the revision process, and just their expectations that they're going to be quality writers and they're not going to leave Central without having the ability of writing instilled in their skills in their toolbox. And so that's huge for me, because I start them out and then I know they're going to get, English teachers that are challenging and have high expectations and are not going to mess around sophomore, junior, senior year, because my department is stacked. We have just these fantastic teachers that have these really, really high expectations. And so I just know that I got to get them ready for those other teachers that are not playing.
Yeah, you don't want to be that teacher that goes too easy, right?
No.
Well, even thinking of when it comes to English, they read so many different texts and stuff too. So take us through how you're having them write themes and things when they're reading so many different books too.
Okay, this is a great question. So right now we're just starting to Raisin in the Sun, which is a play.
Uh-huh.
So we're reading the play. But what I do is I pull things that the family is dealing with or struggling with, and then have them write about it in the context of 2023 by using the characters from it. So for example, does poverty make family relationships more strenuous? Does it, make marriage a little bit of a harder, union because you have this stress of poverty and things like that? So we see that present in the fiction play, and then we try to apply it to their lived experiences. And so that's what kind of stuff we have kids write about.
Yeah, that's great. Is being more of a modern thing. You're taking so many old texts and to reapply that just makes that connection so much better too. That's amazing. Well, speaking of having a great department, I recently did a podcast with your department head, John Flanagan.
Yes.
He tells me you're hired and fired every single day. So
Yeah.
What's it been like to build that relationship with so many legendary teachers at Central, especially in the English department?
Flanagan's found the secret sauce of making everybody in the English department love him. It's apparently
that's not easy.
Not liking Miss Omar. Firing Omar, it makes everyone laugh. So it's endeared everyone to him. The fact that I'm his arch nemesis. So
They'd be concerned if you didn't get fired. That'd probably be like a
occasionally
missing thing.
I find a kid in the hallway that is like maybe a little bit of a kid that makes not the best decisions, and I know that he should be where Flanagan's at. So I bring that kid to wherever I know Flanagan's at and drop that person off so Flanagan can deal with him. Yeah, it might be why he fires me. He's seen me do some things that in retrospect, I should have made a better decision. You know,
that's how you become a better teacher. We make mistakes.
I say some stupid things. Yeah,
We've all done it. We've all been there. I'm just as guilty of that one too. So, well, it's great to have such a great department, such a historic group too, as well. Now, being in meetings with you and just kind of around you in general, you often have these really great quotes from literature. Like you've dropped some in our freshman academy meetings that you've used on students even, where it's like, this is life advice, but it's from Shakespeare, or it's from this type of book. What are some of your good literary quotes?
Okay, so what did I say to the kids today? I said they had to pick their pain. I said, and it's not me, I didn't come up with it, but the idea that it's painful to stay awake in class when you're tired, and it's painful to keep your phone in your backpack.
Yeah.
But it's also painful to not get your credits, and it's also painful to not graduate on time with your classmates. So it's pick your pain.
Exactly.
Do you want to have the pain of watching your classmates graduate while you sit in the audience? Or do you want to have the pain of staying awake in an English class where the teacher is like me and drones on and on and on? And have your cell phone away where you know snaps are coming in and you're not looking at it. So it's pick your pain.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's a great quote. You even use the one where if you lay with dogs, you'll get fleas. Who you associate with yourself, and that's might be a little bit more of a rough one, but who you associate with yourself impacts you in the long term.
Yes, who you rolling with in the hallways during class. Do you want to live that life? Look at your friends.
Yeah.
Are they the kind of people you want to be personally?
Yeah. You change based upon who you're around.
Shakespeare said that, I think.
Yeah, that's
good
perfect.
Old Shakespeare.
That's a great quote.
Thank you.
Let's take a quick commercial break from the action with Mrs. Omar to do our Eagle shoutouts. Of course, our Eagle shoutouts are brought to you by the Central High Foundation. Make sure you visit chsfomaha.org today to become a Generation C member to support students, staff, and podcasts like this. We first want to give a shout out to the Central High Slam Poetry team that got first in Nebraska. So major congratulations to them. You can see some of those members if you go to the Central High Twitter page. You'll be able to see those members in their action. Great job. We're truly downtown proud. Our next shout out goes to Central High Baseball, Harry Haquan. Harry had pitched a baseball game against South Sioux City where Harry had 9 strikeouts in a row against the Cardinals. He would end that game with 10 total strikeouts for the Eagles. So great job for Harry and great future there for Central Baseball. And our last shout out goes out to the Central High Band who competed at districts recently. They had 2 superior ratings and several excellent ratings. Shout out to Mrs. Trowernick and the entire band community for the great work they've done there. Let's get back into our episode with Mrs. Omar.
Thinking together before we started recording, we of course were talking freshman academy business because it's a never-ending conversation, and we're always working through those things. You first started, we all started together starting the academy system. Now this is your first year running the academy system. How are you able to make it successful? What's it been like now to have the reins of all the freshmen and then teachers that are trying to push these freshmen forward?
Yeah, it's super exciting because I think freshman year is really an essential year to success, going on to graduate. And I buy into that 100%, that if they have a good freshman year, they're more likely to actually finish the journey and graduate.
Yeah.
And so I just think it's so exciting because I get to think up things let's take, I didn't think it up. It was Kirksey's idea, the Holland, but I get to put that into action and take all the kids to go see something fun. And I got to pick out what we saw at the Holland. So the Circus Olay and the amazing acrobatics that we watched, I picked that. And it's exciting to have these fun joy moments for freshmen.
And even to do those fun things, you talk about the Holland, there was something that was paid for by the foundation, or it's paid for by OPS. To have the support both of the district and as well the foundation to do these things is great. So take us through what it's like to plan these things. You did not too long ago, you did Kids Against Hunger, where we had students package 70,000 meals for those in need. We took a ton to the Holland. Later next week, we're going to go do a scavenger hunt at UNO. So what's it like to plan these really big events with very young kids?
So it's like a lot of sleepless nights because I think about everything that could go wrong. And there are a lot that could go wrong when you bring kids out of the building. But it's just going through everything and making sure that everybody knows. There's so many moving parts because you have to notify all the teachers that are involved, and the teachers that are not involved need to know too because it affects their day-to-day.
Yeah.
Everything in the buses, ordering the buses, and we have to order special buses for different groups of kids and things like that. And it was a lot of moving parts.
Well, even thinking with the whole busing thing, you've even made some really cool decisions for UNO. We're going to be taking the Orbit. Talk us through, where was that decision to use public transit to get them to a very close institution?
Okay, so the big part about the Freshman Academy is building a community within a big school and having this feel of community. But I also think there's a big part of Central that's about being a part of our community and pushing our community to be a great place for people to live.
Yeah.
And I think public transit plays a big role in that. So our kids being patrons of public transit helps our public transit be a more important piece of Omaha. And then, hopefully the more we use it and teachers use it and the kids use it, the more that this is invested in by our mayor and all of the good citizens of Omaha, because we have the ABCs, and the C stands for community. And so I don't know, what a better part than to be on our public transit and be patrons of that and be supporters of that.
Yeah.
I had a bus driver, so I took the Orbit for my field trip yesterday with 25 kids. The same bus driver picked us up on the way back too.
Yeah.
And he made sure that I counted the kids before he pulled away. He was awesome.
Way to be committed though, yeah.
And he was like, okay, miss, he had my back, and I felt like, okay, there's another adult in our community that cares about my kids and cares about me making sure I've counted all 25 before the bus pulls away.
That's
awesome.
Community. That's amazing. That's great. And even cool. Some people will say, oh, well, the Orbit's empty so often. If you go from 6:40 to 7, probably 7:40-ish. You look at that time, and then after school, it's packed with Central High students. Even I've heard students there's been too many on the bus sometimes, and they even have to kick kids off, and hey, you got to go later on or catch a different bus. So it's a huge part of what Central is, and great to have that right next door to us.
100%.
So very good. Well, that's great. I'm excited for next week. I'm excited for the future events we're going to be doing in this as well.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
It'll be okay. It's going to be great. Everything's going to be smooth. You're doing great work. Even Assistant Principal Danielle Brand said that you needed a high five because you took this job on this role and you put it on your back and you moved forward. So major kudos to you and doing those things.
I'm excited about it. It's cool.
Yeah. Well, let's do a transition. Let's do a little bit of a sentence stem type thing that we know this in education and writing. This is a good way to have conversation and build these things. So I'm going to give you a phrase and you've got to finish it. Okay. So maybe what first comes to your mind, whatever that might be. Okay. First one is I love.
Coffee. Yeah.
I did not get coffee here, even though we got coffee during the day.
I drank a lot of coffee today.
That's okay.
It fuels me.
It's okay. It fuels this interview. That's great.
Good.
I worry that
I didn't loop someone in that is going to mark a kid absent, that then is going to have a parent that's going to email and be upset, and I'll ruin some kids' perfect attendance by not fixing things ahead of time.
That's a little plug towards me, huh? With the student who emailed me with the attendance.
I think it was mostly my fault.
That's okay. That happens. The world's not perfect. That's okay. I look forward to getting to do this again next year and getting better and having things that are not crisis management, but are just being managed well. Yeah, totally. That's great. That's a good one. Your greatest accomplishment
is as far as a human or as an educator?
It's your pod. It's all about you. It's about your life. It doesn't have to be education.
Obviously, my children and my marriage are my greatest accomplishments, but also as far as an educator goes, I think just the idea that a kid would want to be a teacher themselves. I love when I see a kid and they're doing their practicum or their student teaching. I'm like, wow. Yeah. It's not always because of me, but it's because of Central.
Well, and we don't pat ourselves in the back enough too. So when that happens, it's your cup is full, it's overflowing, like
I
it
love
just
it.
feels that way
It's
too.
cool.
That's great. Your greatest inspiration is?
Obviously you, Beckman, obviously.
Dang it, that ruins my last one. Mr. Beckman is?
My greatest inspiration.
There it is.
Okay.
Great one to rope together. Thanks for playing that game and playing some of those sentence stem with us as well. Well, let's transition to family. You said your family is, of course, one of your greatest accomplishments. You and I share a common occurrence of having children, especially boys. I have a boy. You have boys. That are rambunctious. That
Yes.
are sometimes concerning when you take them in places. I feel this way as the game I went to last night. So what's it been like, though? You and I are big on bringing our kids to things. It's important when you go to Central, buy into that family, but your family buys into that family too. So what's it been like to bring your boys to events? You bring them to plan days sometimes, soccer games, probably cross country meets every once in a while.
Everything. They've lived at Central. They grew up at Central. Like, so my first year at Central, I was pregnant with Roscoe. And so like, I haven't known Central without like my boys being a part of it. And they don't know me without me being Central and purple and all that stuff. So it's just huge. And like when we were, during remote school, when our children were remote as well as us being remote,
Yeah.
Roscoe was in my classroom with me every day on first grade.
Yeah.
And I was teaching, English remotely, and he was doing first grade. And then Kirksey made like baby eagle diplomas at the end of that first quarter.
Oh, that's awesome.
And we
I
had
didn't
a
think
little
about that.
graduation in the courtyard, and I have it up on my wall because like he like seriously went to school and he ate lunch with me every day.
That's
and,
fun. And that's such a great experience of such a dark time and such a tough time, and to be able to have the administration, OPS number one, but the administration to welcome your students
Oh
in,
my
your kids
gosh.
in.
It was awesome. And it was just like, I'll look back and be like, that was great. And I tell my students about it all the time.
Yeah.
My kid's little baby eagle diploma is up on the wall that Miss Kirksey printed for him in color.
We'll get a picture
And
of that.
we had like cookies and stuff, and we had a whole graduation.
That's amazing. So, do your boys talk about school at all? Do they talk about Central and stuff? My son's been big on that lately, where we'll talk about Central football or Central basketball, or we'll talk about this podcast. So do they talk about the building a lot?
Oh, for sure. And like Roscoe already kind of dreams of being on the soccer team and
Yeah.
being like, our soccer field is really beautiful at night. When I guess the football team would say the football field, but
Yeah.
the sun's going down, the buildings are back there, and like Roscoe's been there for so many soccer games, and obviously he's got my soccer skills, so he'll be amazing.
It'd be amazing. Yeah,
Amazing.
totally.
So yes, the boys and Ozzy too, like they love the whole being a part of it. And they've gotten to go to like football practices on work days, and like they get to be with the high school kids, and they love it.
Well, and even with Coach Storm, I talked about this too, like to do other jobs, there's the community there, kind of. It's created, I don't want to call it artificial, but it's somewhat artificial. When you're a teacher at a school, you're into it. It is everything. You're going to football games, you're going to dances, those plan days, your kids get to meet the other kids and stuff. It's crazy.
It's a community for sure. Yeah, and my kids are a part of it too.
Totally. It's a big C on that ABC, Sarah. Well, to wrap up our last question, what is your message to the Central High community, families, alumni, students? You can pick certain ones. You can do them all.
I love being a part of it. And so as a part of being the freshman academy lead is I have a freshman advisory board. And so like Mr. Bixby is on it, and he's this amazing supporter of the kids and opportunities for the kids. And then there's, alumni that have opportunities for the kids, and Completely Kids and P4K.
Yeah.
And we've got like Immigrant Legal Center. One of their social workers is on. It's just like this great thing being a part of Central, because there's so many people that love it and care about it and want to give back to it. And I love being a part of a community like that.
Yeah,
I feel
especially
really lucky.
pushing things forward. That's great.
Yep.
Well, I appreciate you spending time after school, especially as we gear up towards more and more events and these things, and sitting down with me and having this conversation and joining in today. All right, guys, thanks so much for joining me at Chatting the Seat. We'll see you next time.